his friends, a team of engineers, and came up with the ventilator. And he was recently awarded by the UN as one of the persons of the year. So it's really that inspiration that, at the end of the tunnel, there is light, and there's so much we can do even when we face the most difficult of times. I think one of the things the book shows you is that we're very agile, we're very adaptable as humans to really, align ourselves with our circumstances and really work to the best of our potential.
Yeah, that's really, really true, Liz. I find that I agree with you completely. When I read, I was very encouraged. I was like, oh, wow, I can do this. And well done, honestly, Liz. Well
Thank you.
done.
Thank
So
you.
the next question is, what do you think is the universal or common thing among the 50 youths who contributed to the Youth Can stories?
I think one of the long-standing threads across the whole book is that of grit and resilience.
Mm-hmm.
I have featured young people who have PhDs. I have also featured young people who had to drop out of school because of varying circumstances. But the common thread in all of them is that of resilience, is that, they have this energy of never losing hope despite the circumstances they face. No matter what life throws at them, they think about ways to overcome those challenges. And sometimes, though those challenges take them a bit longer to reach their goals, they still continue with their journeys. That's one of the key threads across all the people who've been featured in this book.
Oh, nice. So how did you start writing the book?
Wow. I know I began by saying that I'm a storyteller. So I love
Yeah.
storytelling. My career in media, unbeknownst to a lot of people, wasn't on TV. It was actually writing. So I really loved, and I'm still very passionate about writing. The first ever article that got published was when I was 10 years old. So you can imagine how happy I was. And, at that
Mm-hmm.
age, I kept saying, one day I'm going to hold my book, I'm going to publish a book, I'm going to be a published author. But, it's a dream I've had since I was very young. But the execution of this book took me 6 months. 6 months,
Oh.
because I had everything planned out in my mind. I knew who exactly I wanted to work with as my sub editor, as my editor, my revised editor, the team of graphics people that I wanted to use. I'd really done my due diligence and research on whether I wanted to self-publish or whether I wanted a publishing house to take this on. And I really wanted to self-publish because I wanted to have the freedom of editorial content. And I had figured out through the research which, printers I was going to work with. I have to say that we really give Kenya, we don't give it the benefit of doubt when it comes to these things. A number of people have reached out to me asking who printed my book, because a lot of people think it was published, printed outside. No, everything was done here in Kenya, and 85% of the people I worked with around this book are under 35 years old. So we have such an abundance of talent that we need to leverage on. So it's something that it's been my long life dream, but I executed this in under 6 months during
Oh,
the COVID
wow.
season. Yes.
That's so cool. So, which is your favorite story among all the stories in the book?
Well, that's a really difficult question. I always say it's a very difficult question. It's like asking a mom, who's your favorite child? It's
Yeah.
very hard.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I can't really pinpoint which is my, favorite story, because I feel they all have such nuggets of wisdom. They're all so empowering. But really, some of the ones that really, really stand out for me, they all stand out. But the ones that
Mm-hmm.
I really feel every day I wake up and I'm like, wow, this person went through all this, I would mention is Niall Deng. The story of Niall Deng, who's a refugee who stays at Kakuma camp, and how he has reinvented himself, how he's really pushing and advocating for the rights of refugees. He's really passionate about education. Sometimes as young people, when we talk about challenges, we don't really sit down with people to understand the kind of challenges they have. For a lot of us, we think not affording a meal at KFC is a big deal. Not affording, there are people who've gone through so much. And when I read and interviewed, when I was interviewing Niall, like I was actually in tears because he is such a hopeful, optimistic person, despite the challenges that he's gone through. His parents had to move away from South Sudan. He's originally from South Sudan because there was the civil war. They moved to Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, they were attacked by militias. They had to trek from Ethiopia to Kakuma camp, and that journey took them about 3 weeks, nearly a month. And you don't have a place to stay, you don't have food, you don't have transport. And despite all that, if you see him, he's so full of life, so happy, that sometimes you cannot be able to imagine this person went through all this. I think another story that's really empowering is one of 33-year-old Georgine Auma from Kenya, who currently is an advocate for the rights of persons with disability. When she was 9 years old, sometimes the drugs we take have some side effects, and she did get mumps. And one of the side effects of mumps medication is hearing loss. And she lost her capacity to hear when she was 9 years old. And, that did not, break her spirit. During her KCSE, she passed with flying colors. She got an A plane. She really wanted to become an engineer, but she couldn't because, the university said they don't have a course in Braille, I beg your pardon, to cater for her incapacity to hear. And so she decided to become a teacher and teach the next generation of engineers. Powerful stories like that of London Kobo, who's 33 years old, from South Africa. She's the first female African dredge master. If you do not know dredge masters, please go look that up, or even better, buy the book and you will see what I'm talking about. Of course, 9-year-old Grace, who from Nigeria, a social entrepreneur from Nigeria, what were you doing at 9 years old, Lydia? At 9 years
Hey.
old, yeah, she's thinking about impacting the community, contributing to, making lives better for people. She started her own Ankara line of teddy bears, where part of the proceeds go to help homeless kids. So that's, her story reminds us that you're never too young or too old to make an impact. So, if I carry on, I will mention each and every story.
All of them. That is so beautiful. And you're right. The 9-year-old was definitely a beautiful story. A very, very beautiful story. So did the youth you featured in your book have any commonalities in regards to character traits that made them achievers? Would you say that, there were common themes that you were following?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. When I started, I really wanted, there's a checklist that I had, and a lot of them were ticking this checklist. And if you look at them, despite the amazing resilience they have, another key thing they do showcase is that they just don't want to do it for themselves. They don't want to achieve these things for themselves. They're thinking of the larger picture. How are they impacting the community they live in? How are they helping their fellow peers, their brothers and sisters? How are they helping the bigger community to also develop as they're developing? That was the commonality across all of them.
Oh, that's amazing. So there's a lady here who asked that she's an author and she wanted to know, how can you assist an author to write his or her book now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For now, I think as an author, when my book came out, a lot of people told me, I've been writing my book for 9 years or for 4 years, and I just don't know where to start. And what my advice for her would be, start with what you have, do your research, If you need, some guidance on what printers to use. I mean, I used Kenyan printers called Modern Lithographic. They're amazing, if you ask me. They're in industrial area. Do the groundwork, like research, research, research. Line up all the things that you have to do. The budget, budgeting is also really critical. One of the things I think I've gotten as feedback is the quality of this paper is really good. And I did invest quite a lot on the paper because I knew it had pictures, so it had to be really good quality. The font also had to be good because I didn't want anybody struggling while reading the book. Those are they might look really like petty things, but those are some of the things that people look into when they're buying a book. So I did carry out a survey with the network, our youth network, and ask, what are some of those things that you look at when you're buying a book? Or what is the price range? I wanted to know the price range because I'd done a lot of financial investment to get this book done and out. And I did all this with my savings, yeah? So also just making sure that you produce something quality. For me, quality was really key. And the content had to be really apt for my target audience. I think as an author, you have to look at the target audience. Who really is your target audience? Who do you want to read your book? How do you want them to feel after reading that book? What kind of experience do you want them as they're flipping those pages? What do you want them to experience? And I think for me, because I'm such a passionate reader, I read a lot of books. I didn't want it to be an ebook because I honestly cannot read an ebook. Like I can't sit on my laptop and read a
Yeah.
book via my phone or my laptop because I spend 85% of my time every single day in front of the laptop. So when I read a book, I want to sit down, relax on the couch, and actually just hold it and feel it and just flip the pages. So those are some of the things that you really have to look into. But I would tell that young lady, I wish her the best. If she needs any help, she can always contact me on at founder@LizzNtonjiraNetwork.com. But one of the things I would really urge her to look into is who's her target audience, because I see that's where a lot of authors get lost in terms of understanding who's my target and what would they like to read. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Actually, the book looks really nice.
Thank you.
Really, really nice. You did amazing with the quality,
Thank
100%. And
thank you.
so she wants to also know, what did you edit out of the book? Did you edit anything out? Any content, perhaps?
Yeah, unfortunately, the book, I only edited out maybe 2 stories that I didn't feel resonated with the theme I wanted to be in the book. That's the only thing that was edited out, but the rest went as is. Sorry, the rest went as is. The only other thing is that there are about 3 individuals that I really wanted to feature in the book, but because of certain circumstances, they weren't able for me to interview them in time. And my other thing as an author is you have to work with a deadline. If you leave it open-ended, that's why you'll see yourself 5 years down the line, you've still not written or published your book. So I had a very strict timeline that I was looking at. And one of those individuals, one had traveled and their schedule was really tight. The other one had just gotten surgery. And I didn't want to, subject them to me interviewing them, etc. While they were recuperating. So I had to get like my plan B. And then the other one wasn't also able because they work for a very big multinational company and they're not allowed sometimes to participate in such kind of activities. So yes, those were some of the things that I left out.
Okay, so is there anything you would have changed in the book if you were to do it again?
No, like I really love it as is. I love everybody that I've worked with. I love all the content that is there. There were nights that there were moments I felt like I will lose my mind because you can imagine, reaching out to all these people. Some of them don't actually speak English. English is not their first language. So like the stories from Angola, they predominantly speak Portuguese, Cape Verde, Portuguese, Guinea Conakry, French. So I actually was doing my interview with my phone there with Google Translate. So it was a bit difficult on some days, but in the end, it was all worth it.
Oh, nice. Sheila says she got a copy, and the copy has amazing stories. Thank you for that, Sheila Salim.
Thank you.
So, moving forward, how did you decide, stroke pick, which stories to feature in the book? I think Miss Liz has answered that very well.
Mhm.
And the next question would be the challenges you encountered as an author here in Kenya.
Oh, wow. Like, even for the young lady that was asking about authoring a book, please don't be discouraged, because I encountered so many challenges. But when you really focus on your goal, on your end goal, I feel the universe collides to ensure that you actually achieve that goal. So so when I set out to do this, I interviewed a few authors who told me that, they've written books, and some of those books, 4 years down the line, they've only sold 30 copies or 50 copies. So in my mind, I was like, wow, this is such a financial investment I am undertaking. And, because what I used to, what I spent to have this book out was in the millions. So thinking that, out of all this, and then nobody gets to buy it or anything, was a little worrying. The other thing was, um, the publishing houses can be really demotivating, especially for first-time authors. So I had meetings with quite a number of publishing houses who said they would take about 2 to 3 years. I think the only one that I had would take a year and a half was just one publishing house. And they said the terms of negotiations were they would offer me 7 to 15% of my very hard work, which for me was completely, I just said no. Then I think the other challenge was, you know, I had to really research and do my groundwork to get a very good printing house. And then, of course, when I decided to do this by myself, like self-publish, when I decided to also do my own distribution strategy and set up the www.youthcan.africa and be able to ship worldwide, etc. In terms of paperwork, there's a lot of paperwork you have to do in the beginning. And some days I thought I will honestly lose my mind, but somehow everything came to play. And sourcing some very good partnerships like with DHL, with Fargo Courier, just ensuring you have everything, you've listed everything you need to list, was quite a challenge. The language barrier was another challenge. The different time zones, because I'm working with people from different countries, and they're up to other things, was also quite a challenge. So I had to work with their schedule. So oftentimes, to be very honest, to be able to complete some chapters, and I wish I could, one of these days we'll share the back behind the scenes of how this book came up. Like, there are moments I sat up till 6 a.m. working on the book because I really needed to meet my deadline. So those were some of the challenges. But if you're really focused, if you find solutions to each challenge, for instance, because I felt that, going with a publishing house wasn't working for me, I self-published. Worked on my own distribution strategy. And once it was out, having discussions and great partnerships with people like Textbook Center was really amazing. Like, I was so happy they took on the book and listed it. I mean, those people like Textbook Center, honestly, they give you motivation that, oh, wow, you're actually in the right path. This is working. And after the publishing itself, a lot of people reached out asking, how can we partner, etc. So it's been a journey with challenges, but the outcome, to be honest, has really surpassed those challenges. but be ready and just continue moving forward.
Mhm. Okay, awesome. That's a very good way to look at it. You have a very positive mindset. I really admire that. And way to go, Liz.
Thank
So, the next question is, do you plan on taking the book to institutions, let's say like universities? Are you working on shelving them in different, institutions?
Yes, absolutely. We've already started those conversations with some university. In fact, one of our strategies has been approaching organizations that work with young people, a lot of young people. And I'm happy to say that, some wonderful organizations like MasterCard Foundation, like TechnoServe have already purchased, books like 50 copies, etc. Some even want to purchase like 100 copies for the youth within their network. So it has been a strategy that we're using. I know for the universities, what has made it stall a bit was because of the, what is it called, of COVID. So now there are really not a lot of students in school, but definitely we might even donate some to school libraries in various universities. Yeah, but that's definitely something that we've been working on.
Oh, nice. So someone is asking if it's safe for them to buy the book online or.
Absolutely. It is very safe for you to buy the book online. You can either purchase it at the site, the Textbook Center site. They have an online they have an online shop where you can purchase it. You can also, if you're outside Kenya, purchase it via www.youthcan.africa. We, in particular, I use DPO payments, which is extremely secure. In fact, when we were testing out, the way you test out whether the platform is working, I recall putting in my card details and I'd put them in the wrong way. And immediately that sent a red flag to DPO payments and they refused payment from that card. So it's actually a very secure way. You can purchase it online. It's very safe.
Okay. So can someone pay for the book in installments in any way?
Oh, unfortunately, no. It's very, let me tell you, this costing for this book is something that, we first carried out a survey within the youth in our network, and we have about 2,120 something youth in our network. And we asked them, so we did a survey on how much they would be willing to purchase on a book. And we had varying rates, some 100 bob. I think we should have specified like a hardcover book, a hard copy book, but mostly the 500 was because of the ebooks, for instance, or 1,000. And there's some who even said they would be happy to purchase even a book at 7,000. So when we did the tally, the average cost was coming to about 2,300. And remember, I had mentioned that the quality of the paper used in this book, and I think Lydia has the book, can really attest to it. It's really a very high quality paper. So just investing in quality was quite something. And we had 3,000 was the most reasonable price that we could come up with. But Stephen Owiko, we hear you, and I can see you really, really want this book. So I will give you a book. Thanks to the strength of the Lizz Ntonjira network. So one of the other things is that there are some people, a number of my friends who've been purchasing, and I think Sheila got her book in that way. Like Dr. Gethenji Gitahi bought 10 books for different youth. I have Desta Lakiu who also bought 10 books. I have people like Sarah Katusia. So the people who can be able to financially buy, they've actually bought 10 copies, 20 copies for different young people, nieces, nephews, or young people they mentor the book. So Stephen, I hear you, and we will gift you one of the books from our friends.
Awesome. Hey, you're lucky, Stephen.
That's just
So,
for Stephen before everybody says they want a copy.
yeah. So, Liz, could you read for us a favorite snippet of the book?
Favorite, Aki, that word favorite is very, very, so we can go to page 102.
Okay.
And I will read Nial's story, Nial Deng. He's 21 years old, or originally from South Sudan. And the biggest quote from him is, "Being a refugee is difficult, but I'm hopeful. I am changing the narrative that shapes how the world thinks about refugees and helping to drive positive changes in my new community." Nial Deng, this is his story. I was born in 1999 in a place called Itang in the western part of Ethiopia. My father is originally from South Sudan, but he moved to Ethiopia more than 50 years ago during the Sudanese civil war. My father is my everyday role model. He believes in the power of education and has always stood up for his rights and the rights of his community. My parents got divorced when I was only 4 years old, and my mother moved to a different village. I spent most of my childhood in Itang with my father. He later sent me to the Gambela region for my primary school education. I was a pupil there until 2010 when our village was stormed by armed militias and I had to find my way to Kakuma refugee camp in the northwest of Kenya. The events of that fateful season are etched in my mind to date. I was lost, devastated, and frustrated. The journey from Ethiopia to Kenya was one of the hardest things I have ever done. It took me 3 weeks to reach Kakuma. Half the journey was made on foot and the other half in various vehicles. We traveled as a group and supported each other throughout the journey. Fast forward to 10 years later, I am now changing the narrative that shapes how the world thinks uh, about refugees and helping to drive positive change in my new community. Life in Kakuma is full of challenges and hardships, but I found hope in education. I finished high school at Kakuma Refugee Secondary School in 2018 and have always taken advantage of every opportunity to further my studies. I am currently enrolled in 2 different courses: business management and administration with Cambridge International College and journalism and filmmaking at Film Aid International. My days in the camp begin early with meditation. After that, I attend my classes at Film Aid International, a non-governmental organization that uses the power of film to inform, educate, and inspire marginalized communities. Their media training course empowers the next generation of storytellers with the skills they need to advocate for themselves and their communities. After class, I study in the community library and then go to work in the afternoon. I take some time out in the evening before working on my project for the Refugee Youth Peace Ambassadors, URISE Initiative for Africa, and Step Up, among others. At the end of the day, I write a gratitude journal. My dream as a child was to become a journalist. I wanted to be a global witness to weighty events and to distill the beauty and mayhem that surrounds us. I have also always wanted to be a voice for the voiceless. This is why I now envision myself working in the humanitarian sector. I want to collaborate with governments and other organizations to create safe spaces for young people to bring change to their communities. I see so much potential in young refugees. My vision is to transform the world, and I believe the best way to do this is through the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Towards this end, I do a lot of work around high quality education, peace building, leadership, empowerment, and social entrepreneurship. I'm passionate about these things because of what I went through in my home country and my experiences as a refugee. At Kakuma, I am the head of the Refugee Youth Peace Ambassadors, a refugee-led initiative that works towards enhancing peaceful coexistence between different communities in the camp and the Kalobei Integrated Settlement. My work involves raising ethical leaders and formidable social entrepreneurs. So far, we have supported more than 1,000 young people in the camp. I am also a member of Amala Education Youth Advisory Group. The group advises Amala on their education models, programs, and curriculums. My job there is to ensure that Amala's work in the education sector is informed by the voices of the people they serve. I also help to facilitate courses. Nearly 100 people have graduated from our courses in Kakuma. One of the other things I do is to provide consultancy services at Take Action Global, Project Kakuma, which aims to provide refugee children with high quality education and empower the young people in Kakuma through digital skills. Besides these engagements, I advocate for refugee rights and help shape the narratives around the refugee crisis. I have learned that mistakes mold us into the best version of ourselves. While I have often doubted my potential, I believe in myself. I will always stand up against injustice, no matter how bleak the situation is. One of the most significant barriers for young Africans is the older generation. They build roadblocks instead of bridges. It is worse for young people living in protracted situations because they feel left out. They can be seen as victims instead of people with a role to play in rebuilding their countries. This hinders them from driving positive change. Nevertheless, young people are rising across different sectors in Africa, proving that no one is too young to make a difference. We are the generation of unlimited possibilities. Let's dream big, be bold, and take the lead. We are resilient. We are determined. We can influence change if we stand as one. My fellow youth, you will face the age bias in your careers. However, many people who are trying to stop you are simply afraid of your potential. You have to go out there and prove the naysayers wrong. Strive to be your best self. Remember that no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. So be creative, take the lead, and have fun.
Wow, that is so amazing. Thank you so much, Liz. I think let's dream big, be bold, and take the lead carries the day very, very well.
Absolutely. Absolutely,
So
it does.
now we are going to your personal life and life skill questions. You ready?
Yes.
So, number one, someone asked, what do I do if I want to be successful? I am a high school dropout. I'm struggling to survive. What are the steps you think I need to take?
Okay, one of the things that I think I will sound like a broken record if you have been in my various other, and I see Keith Njiru here, he's been to practically each and every of my sessions. I always tell young people, your road to success can only be defined by you. Have your mission, vision, and core values. And guys, I know this sounds so redundant or so cliche, but let me tell you something. That is what has helped me. Even when you feel you have nothing, when you set your mission, your vision, your core values, that will really guide you, whether it's professionally, career-wise, whether it's personally, your own personal engagements and the networks that you build. Please have a mission, vision, and core values. And within that, you have your short-term goals and your long-term goals. And there's something really helpful that I think I want to mention, that one of our thought leaders mentioned. So the way the book is structured into 12 chapters. Each chapter starts with a thought leader or an industry expert writing a letter to young people. Then the rest of the chapter is a feature of 3 to 4 young people doing extraordinary things within that particular sector. And I will read this from Professor Bitange Ndemo, because I believe any successful young person stands on the shoulders of a giant who's been there before you, who's paved the way for you, who's, held your hand along the way. And Dr. Bitange says, I have made mistakes and failed before, but I don't let the past stand in my way. In life, there are secrets of success that have opened opportunities for me. My philosophy is good quality work is rare, but demand for it is abundant. I have lived by this philosophy and it has worked for me, even in places where the odds were against me. If it is a janitorial job you get, do it to the best of your knowledge and ability. That is where success comes from. whether you are advantaged or disadvantaged. Always doing things with your whole heart, with your passion, whether you're the tea girl, whether you're a volunteer, whether you're a janitor, you had it. And that is what, and Bitange, Prof. Bitange has such an empowering story, and I wish you all can be able to read it and see that. Do you know he used to clean the horse ranch, yeah? To make ends meet. He used to deliver newspapers. He used to, before everybody got to know him as the former PS in the Ministry of Communication. Those are some of the things that you have to think about. Don't think about, success can only be defined by you. And for me, every day I say success is not riches. It is not having the biggest house in your neighborhood. It is not driving the biggest car. Success and milestones that you can achieve is every day waking up to be better than you were yesterday. If you're a person who's used to waking up at 9 a.m. and today you woke up at 6 a.m., that is a milestone in its own. If you're a person who doesn't save any money and at the end of the month you saved 100 bob, that's something, because a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. Nahaba nahaba ujaza kibaba. So slowly by slowly you continue building.
Oh, that's really encouraging. So, how have you managed to successfully create a work-life balance while pursuing other projects? Your personal development.
Yeah, wow. That I get that question a lot. And sometimes I honestly feel when you're passionate about something, because I'm really passionate about young people, and a lot of times people have asked me, how did you even do a whole book considering your work is so intense? And my answer is, when you work for something that you're really passionate about, you don't even bother with thinking that you're overworking yourself. You're really working towards that dream. Nobody's pushing you, you're pushing yourself. And I think that work-life balance, it's just prioritizing. How do you prioritize your day? And as young people, I feel honestly, sometimes we waste a lot of time. We do. We waste a lot of time. Have you ever seen those memes when you're actually supposed to go rest and sleep, but 3 hours later, you're still scrolling through Instagram, checking, yeah? We all have been, we've fallen prey to that, but don't make it a habit. If you plan and prioritize, you'll be able to really accomplish so much more. And always look at time as an asset. Imagine, if we all have 24 hours. If you imagine that 24 hours as 24,000 bob or 24 million, and you waste 1 hour, that's like wasting a whole million bob. Would you ideally do that? So when you get that mindset of prioritizing and planning what is urgent, what is important, what can wait, you'll be able to be on track.
Thank you for that, Liz. So, what would you suggest youth involvement in political issues? How should we go about it as young people?
I think this is the time that young people need to speak up. You do not, it's about time that, it really puzzles me, honestly, sometimes. And I've been really vocal about this, so much so that some people have asked me, are you eyeing a parliamentary seat? But I'm like, no, it's just that, we live in a country where the median age in Kenya, for instance, is 19. That's the median age. None of our cabinet secretaries is under 60. Is it under 60 or under 50? Yeah, they're actually all of them over 50 years old. Yeah. So, you have 50-year-olds making decisions for 18-year-olds. Yeah. It is about time that young people, start taking up those spaces, those governance spaces, those parliamentary spaces. Some people have made it seem like, this kind of seats are passed on from, one family to another, but it's not a family thing. It's not a dynasty. It should be a collective effort of changing the lives of our communities. And when you get there, don't enrich yourself. I think corruption is our biggest killer. Yeah. And I always say it doesn't matter if you have a 50-bedroom house, you will only sleep on one room. Yeah. In a single night. So, I mean, when we start thinking, and for me, why it was important for the people in this book to have that perspective of helping their communities, because that is how we grow. When we don't think about just ourselves, but how are we creating a better environment, a better enabling environment for the people around us? That's really important. And yes, I think it's about time young people stopped getting scared of getting into these parliamentary spaces. And it could be, and you start small, yeah, from an MCA to a member of parliament to a deputy governor to a governor, who knows, to even the president. Yes, but yes, we should be vocal about that governance space.
Mhm. Thank you so much, Liz. So what should one do when their dream job is not coming? Like when you're praying for it, trying to apply for it, and it's not showing up. What should young people do as they're waiting?
I think as you're waiting, just try work, you know, if your dream job, for instance, is to become the VP of communications for multinational, look at LinkedIn and see all the VPs in communication. I mean, list all the different um, big organizations that are there. Look at all their VPs. And you know, we are a generation that is very lucky. We have all these things at the click of a button. Google, make Google your friend, yeah? Not to read about gossip, but to actually look at things that will benefit you. Go to those people and their profiles, look at their education. How is their education? What are some of the qualifications they've undertaken? And as you're waiting for that dream job, do short courses. Nowadays, there are so many online courses that you can take for free. You don't even have to pay for them. In the network, if you're a member of the network, you'll bear witness that every month in our monthly newsletter, we share grant opportunities, we share scholarship opportunities, we share free online learning opportunities from actually Ivy League schools like Stanford, Yale, Harvard. So please take advantage of networks that you are in. Try create relationships with different people. If it's a community of people in WhatsApp, don't every day, sometimes as young people also, we run to news that doesn't really benefit us. Yeah, we're constantly seeing the trending news. The day I will see a story of a person who's really changed the livelihoods of people trending is the day that I will know we are actually changing. Nowadays, it is just rubbish that is trending. Who cares about who sleeps with who? Who cares about who was spotted where? Guys, we need to be more intentional about what we are consuming, what we are filling our minds with. We need to start looking for these opportunities. Imagine sitting as you're waiting for your dream job, or you're waiting to create that business venture, and you're equipping yourself slowly by slowly with certain skills, certain knowledge that will help you towards that long-term vision that you have. And, one of the things, if you just go to our YouTube page where we had interviewed Professor Bitangendemo, he said every week he makes sure he reads something beneficial on YouTube. Every time, even for myself, when I feel I'm down, I'm low, I feel like things are getting stuck, I'm kind of stuck, I'll actually go and check one of Oprah Winfrey's speeches. Maybe she was at Stanford giving a speech. Look at the people you admire, just take a look at them, read, listen to things that enrich your mind, enrich you intellectually, they add your knowledge, as opposed to things that really act to your detriment as you're waiting and working towards that dream job or dream business venture.
Thank you so much, Liz. And you're right. We really do focus on the wrong things. We have bundles, but we don't do, something amazing with them. So that is one thing we are definitely going to check out on. And another question is, how can someone identify their career path? Especially now that there's so many opportunities in outside our niches. You've learned,
Yeah.
maybe you're supposed to be a lawyer. Like, I know you took a different path, but majority of us don't want to take a different path. We only take a different path because maybe we've not gotten the right career advice, or there are no jobs. So how do we identify career paths and stick to it?
I think sometimes just list down everything that you're passionate about. List down everything that you're passionate about. Then, after you list all those things, look at some of the careers to explore within those things that you're passionate about. I think a lot of times as you're looking also, as you list those things you're passionate about and some of the career opportunities that are available within those areas you've identified, look at things that the market needs at the moment. There are lots of opportunities where, for instance, if you're passionate about the environment is so wide. There's plants, there's zoology, there's looking at insects, there are different opportunities across those areas. And even within those areas, there are different careers. Maybe you want to be a program manager, maybe you want to be very technical and specific to that particular career or passion that you have. I mean, there are so many opportunities out there. The challenge is that we all focus on one thing. And Lydia, this is what I mean. If I know Lydia is very successful as an owner of a business, say a hair business, because your hair looks gorgeous. Maybe she's
Thank you.
passionate about she's running a hair business, yeah? I, as Liz, will say, you know what? If Lydia has done hair, let me also do hair. I think there's a market. But we as young people don't go out there to do market research. That is one thing I've noticed. We only want to succeed because other people have succeeded in that area, but we are not even passionate about it. It's because we've seen, oh, Lydia is doing well selling shoes, or Lydia is doing well at this content creation thing. That's why you see, even sometimes in content creation, there are people you never really know what they stand for, because one minute they're pushing cooking shows, the next minute they're pushing travel, the next minute they're pushing. So it's because you just want to compete with the next person without really looking at what you're passionate about. When you identify those things that you're really passionate about, find out what events are happening. And one of the areas you can find this out from is Eventbrite. Eventbrite always lists the different activities happening within your region or your country. And a lot of the things that are put in Eventbrite are actually for free. Yeah. So if you're passionate about the hospitality industry and there seems to be a conference around hospitality, go there, meet with people, network. I mean, a lot of us get opportunities because we network. Yeah. So take advantage of the people within your network, learn something new. Whenever you attend an event, you have to also have clear objectives on why you're attending this event. It's not just to go show off that nice outfit you have, but also to get a contact or two from people that you imagine one day you might get benefit from them, etc. So we have to be, just going back, Lydia, to the point of being intentional.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Liz. That was actually, I forgot I was in that moment of entrepreneurship. Thank you so much for that. And so another question is, how do women, rather young women, run their ventures? I know a lot of women start things and there's this spirit of not completing things. You start and then you give up and let it hang. So how do we run and complete our ventures?
I think just having I know it's difficult for people sometimes to have like a 5-year plan. Just at the beginning of your venture, ask yourself, what do you want to accomplish in 1 year, just in 12 months? What do you want to accomplish? And then work backwards, work towards accomplishing that. And I know sometimes, especially running businesses, it's really, really difficult, but try work towards certain goals and KPIs. You know how you set your SMART objectives? A lot of times, a lot of us get into things and we have not really put out goals. I remember somebody asking me, you should actually get into YouTube now, people love your content, but I don't want to get onto YouTube or onto any channel just for the sake of it, not because everybody's doing it. I really want to be clear about what I'm going to do there. And it's the same for whether you're a man or a woman, running a business venture is not really about your gender. It's about making sure you start your journey, set your goals, put in your KPIs. What do you want to accomplish? And once you do that and work backwards, you will honestly achieve it. There are moments when, I felt like, this book was taking so much of my time. It was taking so much of my financial resources. And, sometimes have people that you can bounce off ideas with. And one of those people was my husband. And he would always tell me, think of why you started. Yeah. Think of what you wanted to accomplish. And, even when I was just feeling like maybe I should just wrap this up and say it was a great dream to have, and he would, be act as a sounding board, have people who are sounding boards to you. And when you really slack, they remind you like, no, you can't carry on like this. And one of the other challenges I've seen a lot of businesses do, young businesses, is you don't separate you as a business and you as a person. So for the book, I actually had to set up a different bank account. Everything was different. So anything that goes to the book, even when people want to purchase the book directly from me, I honestly kept telling them, no, 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 please send them to this pay bill. You really have to differentiate that. That's the other challenge with a lot of businesses I've seen. You don't do your accounts properly to see what's your profit, what's your loss, where do you need to cut maybe spending, etc. So it's really important for you to have those goals, set everything and KPIs, so that you're able to achieve them. So you don't get lost within somewhere there. I have this interesting saying that says, I worry when people say they go with the flow, because what goes with the flow? Dead fish. Because dead fish will go with the flow anyhowly. So you have to really set your KPIs and set your goals and work towards them.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Liz. So how did you overcome the age bias? Like, there's this thing about women and being young and achieving more than other people. How did you overcome the age bias?
Wow. Do we ever overcome it? Or I think sometimes it's really about a lot of research and reading. I read a lot. I really make sure that whatever I'm saying in a meeting is actually factual. Um, I have really tried to ensure that I know the latest trends, what's happening, um, what can I leverage, how to really think out of the box, how to come up with creative and innovative ideas, and how to bring value to the table. I think that's how I've been able to overcome the age barrier. And whatever boardroom I sit in, I'm one of those people who champions young people, more young people getting into these boardrooms. And sometimes, it's such a sad reality that we live in, because I've sat in panels where, and young women bear the biggest brunt. I've sat in panels where, as we were interviewing people, young women never get asked the same questions as our counterparts, the gentlemen. Women get asked, are you married? How many children do you have? I remember one time a director saying, let's be wary of hiring too many girls before all of them get pregnant at the same time. Or a lady who said she had 4 kids but was not married, and immediately she left the room, one of the panelists said, you will not be surprised, all those kids are from different fathers. And really, it's none of our business. And I feel like there are certain questions that are complete invasion of privacy. And as young people, we need, who are lucky and fortunate to be in these boardrooms, need to fight for other young people who are not in those boardrooms yet. We need to create spaces. We need to set an example so that the older generation can see that young people can do these jobs, that young people have the capacity, the skill set, the knowledge to carry out some of these jobs that they are ideally locked out of.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you so much. So, what would you advise, or rather, what would you say is to be blamed for the youth predicament now? There's so many things. Kenyan youth, as you said, we don't get a lot of opportunities, maybe because we are lazy, or maybe because sometimes the system does not favor us. But who really is to be blamed for this predicament?
I think, um, one of the things is our education system. I think our education system doesn't really speak to what the current market needs. Every year we churn out thousands and thousands, if not in the millions, of graduates. But what are we teaching the graduates? Are we teaching them, things like what is actually required in the market? I recall a time when we were searching for data scientists, a lot of data scientists, a lot of experts in water and sanitation, a lot of experts in the field of, especially in the IT field, and we do not have those skills. But then every year we are churning out more and more graduates. What are they studying? Are they studying obsolete and redundant things? That's one of the things. Our education system does not work towards our advantage. The other thing is, people in the older generation, and I say this because it's something that a lot of the people featured in the book mention, older generations need to act as bridges, not as barriers to the younger generation. Yeah. Every time I meet somebody older than me, I ask them, are you mentoring someone? Who are you passing your baton to? It's really important for us to have these conversations. And it's really important for us to have these mentors. And I understand that mentors are really busy because we're looking at people who are industry experts. And of course, their time is very limited. But it's also a task for them to ensure that they carry on that knowledge. I get very surprised when in Kenya we talk about a looming vacuum in the civil service. I mean, there was a report last year by the Public Service Commission that 9 out of 10 civil servants are over the age of 46, and they're worried that, there'll be a time there'll be a vacuum. Well, ironically, Kenya in the larger East Africa has the highest rate of unemployment. Why aren't we giving young people these opportunities in the civil service? But also it's for young people to take on these opportunities. There are young people who struggle with finding job opportunities, and they say, you ask them, how many jobs have you applied for? And they say 10, 5, 2. Trust me, there is a time I had actually applied for, when I really wanted to move, I had applied 150 jobs in 1 month. We have to be proactive about it. And also the other thing, as young people, somebody sends you a CV and you copy paste. So you've not really, and we sometimes we have to be accountable as young people. When we see a job ad, that same CV that you sent to 3, 4 different organizations is the same CV you will send to those other organizations. This other organization, you've not sat down to really critique and see what are some of the things this organization is looking for, and tailor make each and every of your application towards the needs of that vacancy. Somebody, Colin, says he's guilty. So you guys know what I'm talking about. You just change the dear sir, madam, and the job title. You have to really examine these job opportunities and tailor make your resume to meet what these people are looking for. Because you can imagine how many of these CVs are being looked at, right? So the fault is a combination of so many things: our education system, our structural injustices, our governance within our electoral bodies and public bodies. But also we as young people need to be proactive about being out there, being intentional about what we are seeking. And also just mentorship. We need to create more mentorship spaces for young people to be able to interact with the older generation. Because let me tell you, when I sit with people older than me, the amount of wisdom these people have is so amazing. And as young people, we need to read, research. Even if that information will not help you at that moment, in future it will help you.
Thank you, Liz. So, in the question of mentors, someone asked, I have people that I would want to be my mentors. How do I connect with them to become my mentors? And also identifying the right mentor. I think that's one thing I would love for you to maybe advise us on.
I think just going back to something I talked about, is list, and it's so funny you've asked that, because whenever we have the Lizz Ntonjira network meetup sessions, this is something that we address. So we ask people, as Lydia, who are some of the people that you admire? List, don't list 5 of them or 6 of them, list like 50 of them. Then reach out to these different individuals, and the best place to reach them out to is either LinkedIn or Instagram or Twitter, wherever you might find them, yeah? But when you reach out to them, Aki guys, there's some messages I find in my DMs. Hi, be my mentor. As in, like, research about these people that you want to guide you and mentor you. Reach out to someone with a really coherent message. Say, hi, my name is Lydia. I'm in the same field as you're in. I have watched your career. I've seen these qualifications that you have. I'd really like to ensure and follow the path that you're in, but I need some guidance on some, and I have some questions for you. Kindly let me know if you have some time, whether via Zoom, or because people can be wary about giving their phone numbers, via Zoom, via email. If you can answer some questions for me, thank you, and looking forward. And you sign off. Be very, be very specific in your ask, because you can imagine how many people reach out to these people saying, I would like you to mentor me, but you have no idea this person is in what field, what is their passion, etc. Just have a really interesting message that is very succinct and to the point to this person, so that even this person, when they're perusing through, they're like, oh, wow, this person knows what they're looking for. And you can actually take the conversation forward. And those are for direct mentors. And sometimes, guys, mentors don't have to be people who have over-excelled in their fields. It could be somebody, your own peer, your friend, your relative, somebody that you really look up to. And, I hope, if you're not a member of the network, please do join the network via www.lizzntongjiranetwork.com, because we usually do have mentorship sessions, and our mentorship is really defined. We do have a document called the Mentorship Development Plan. It is a plan where the mentee and the mentor sit down and set goals, so that you don't waste each other's time. Sometimes, I've had mentees where you tell them, okay, what are you working towards? And 8 months later you meet, they've done nothing at all. You see, because the time is an asset, just going back to time. And when people actually dedicate their time to mentoring you, you need to also reciprocate by ensuring that you meet your goals. And sometimes you can have indirect mentors. In my life, I've had a lot of indirect mentors. And these are people that we could be in the same field, they're in a different country, but I'm watching them from afar. I go to their social media pages, I see what kind of content they put out. If it's their LinkedIn, I see, I would love one day to work with this organization. What are some of the qualifications this person has? What are some of the events that this person ordinarily goes to? Those are some of the indirect mentors that you can have. You don't necessarily have to know them, but you're just watching their journey and learning from them. But mentorship is really critical, but mentorship is a two-way relationship. And just to clarify, a mentor cannot tell you what to do. A mentor can only guide you. This is a challenge a lot of mentors have. When people say, I don't know what I want to do, nobody can answer that question for you. Nobody. It has to be you who has to make a decision. You have to know what you want to do. And the mentor's role is really to guide you through that process. And I always say there are 3 approaches to mentorship. There's coaching, there's cheerleading, and a mentor is also a counselor. Cheerleading in the sense that every milestone you achieve, you also want your mentor to acknowledge that you're in the right path, to pat you on the back, etc., to really motivate you. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Thank you so much, Liz. So there's another question here. Someone wants to know, how should young people brand themselves?
Wow, branding is a whole other session. It's interesting because last Saturday we had a session on personal branding in the virtual world. Branding is just going back to the things we talked about, your mission, your vision, your core values. And there's somebody who said in the comments that Please unpack this. And how I would unpack it is any career you would love to work for, any company you want to work for, any business that you'd want to, if you're a business owner, any business that you look up to. When you go to their website, what are the first things that you see? Their mission, their vision, and their core values. So when you run yourself as a little Lydia limited company, you have your own mission, vision, core values, short-term goals, long-term goals. You're really able to define some of the things that you would want to do and the ones that you don't want to do. So it's very critical for you in your personal branding journey to know what are some of the things you're passionate about. And if it's, say, you're passionate about children, write a blog about children, children's rights or activism or whatever it is that you're passionate about. If you're passionate about travel, cooking, whatever it is, try to be a thought leader or start being an opinion leader across those issues that surround what you're passionate about. And I think the challenge that a lot of young people make in their personal branding journeys is thinking that you have to be on Snapchat, Instagram, what's the other one? Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You have to have a YouTube
Telegram.
channel, Telegram. There's another one I forget, TikTok. No, you don't have to be in each and every of these social media channels. Just pick one or two that work for you. And then you will dedicate your time, you will dedicate your passion towards telling your story through those channels. You don't have to be in each and every of those social media platforms.
Thank you so much, Liz. And we also want to know, what is your utmost goal stroke dream?
Wow. My dream is to make sure that in my journey to whatever I have defined as success, that I've brought on board, if not hundreds, millions of young people with me. That's my dream.
I think you're already doing a great job on that.
I'm trying.
You are doing a good job. I'm already in the train, so yay. Another question that we have here, which is more of our parting shot as we are almost winding up. What has been the greatest lesson so far from your career journey that you'd encourage young people to emulate?
I think one of my biggest lessons, which I use as a mantra, is no pain, no gain. You have to put in the work, the dedication, the commitment to achieving anything you want to do. Unless you're a thief who will go and rob a bank to get money to make your success, or if you won a lottery, which comes once in a blue moon, you have to really put in the work in everything that you want to do. You have to put in the work. I mean, and sometimes, I'm not one of those people who believe in luck, because I feel like it's a misconception of luck. It's just when planning meets the opportunity, and then you're really hands-on ready to do what it is you're supposed to do. But I feel no pain, no gain really sums up everything that I've ever done in my life. You have to really work towards, whether it's your career, your business venture, your personal relationships with your friends, with your better half, with whatever it is, you have to put in the work. You can't just enjoy fruits of no labor.
Thank you so much, Liz. And as we're winding up, maybe you can advise the guys listening into where they could continue this conversation, where they could reach you, which platform you're most comfortable for guys to ask you questions about the book or even your personal journey, because it's really one of those amazing ones that I'm also very excited to have had a chance to speak directly to you today.
Thank you, Lydia. I think to reach, I mean, there's always Instagram at Lizz Ntonjira. There's my Twitter, which is at Lizz Ntonjira. But also, please, I would encourage people in this platform to join the Lizz Ntonjira network. You just click the button join, because we have regular mentorship sessions. We already started one for this year. We had put a couple of things on hold because of COVID. And look out for any coaching, and mentorship opportunities that we may be having coming up soon. Because every month we'll be having those opportunities, whether it's webinars, or we want to do more physical meetups, depending on the restrictions and guidelines that will be put out. But yeah, please join the network. We regularly communicate on the network.
Thank you so much, Liz. And because of time, guys, you can always share your positive comments because there's so many, Liz. You really touch a lot of people. Everybody's saying how amazing you are, which is a
Oh,
beautiful
thank you.
thing. And I do agree with everybody. So, guys, we're going to wind up. Thank you so much, Liz, for joining us and educating us. I've really learned a lot individually. And I know so many people here are lovers of books and authors. I'm one of them. So I'm looking forward to paving, the same route that you took and the advice that you just given us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for making time. I know it's very hard on a Friday for people to sit down to listen to a webinar, but thank you so, so much for making time. I really enjoyed this, Lydia. Thank you for your moderation and leadership and facilitating in
Thank you.
this session. Ken and Textbook Center, you guys just rock. You're the bomb. I see Ken has already put in the links of where you can purchase the books. So thank you for that. And I really enjoyed this.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, guys, feel free to leave in your own wanting, and Liz will definitely reach out to you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.